Exploring places in Rhodes, in the back of beyond, came with its challenges. Nothing could stop us from a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We enjoyed breathtaking sceneries. Within the precious 48 hours we had, we crisscrossed the island. The ferocious winds could not dampen our mood and our quest to see the various historic and picturesque sites in Rhodes. The weather was unpredictable, every moment counted, and we made the most of it. Having spent our first day in Old Town, we are only left with 48 hours to explore Rhodes. The most sensible option was hiring a car. We did not stay in the city for long. We headed to the countryside where we felt more comfortable. Rhodes is known for its amazing beaches. However, we had our eyes set on places off the beaten track. To our delight, the road was empty, which made a novice left-hand driver more cheerful. Our first stop was at Seven Springs, which is 19 kilometers from the city of Rhodes. The welcoming team at Seven Springs consisted of the friendly grey-lag geese and a lovely, graceful and colourful peacock. Seven Springs is referred to as Eptopegas and is located between the coastal town of Columbia and Archipolis. Due to its quiet, calm and serene environment, it is a tourist hotspot. It literally offers a breath of fresh air. One of the highlights at Seven Springs was to walk across the 186-meter-long dark aqueduct. As a rule, one has to take off their shoes. I must warn you, the water is pretty cold and the pebbles underneath are not gentle on the feet. Halfway through was this safety escape route. I must admit, this was one of my longest 186 meters. However, this was made more bearable by two teenagers behind me who were having a blast. I had to trek back to pick up my shoes where I'd left them. Admittedly, I wasn't brave enough to go through that tunnel again. If closed spaces are not your liking, you can follow this alternative route right above the tunnel to the lake. This is the escape route halfway through the tunnel from above. The water aqueduct was part of the irrigation system built by the Italians during their occupation in 1931. This was built for the fields and citrus crops in the village of San Benedetto on the Columbia Plain. Water from the Seven Springs was led to this reservoir through the tunnel and fed into an open watercourse. Walking trails through the pine trees, chest trees and various types of willows are a welcome distraction away from the harsh realities of life. The waterfall was not as powerful as expected. However, I believe it's that time of the year when the water levels have dropped. Leaving the waterfall behind, we followed the water through the twisting course of the near dry riverbed. The ground was quite uneven and one had to have worn the right pair of shoes. We abandoned the tour of the riverbed and embarked on the search for the origin of the Seven Springs. There is a restaurant next to the springs called Taverna at Seven Springs, which sells traditional Rhodian and Greek dishes. This picturesque gorge has the Seven Springs origin, which flowed outward to form a lake through the 186-meter long dark aqueduct. To our thrill, Seven Springs and the walking trails were amazingly empty during this time of the year, and the icing on the cake, there was no entrance fees to be paid to enter into the facility. Leaving Seven Springs behind, we followed the winding roads to Lindos, guided by our trusted navigation app, Waze. The roads were narrow and twisting, which required a lot of my concentration. This was easily lost to the scenic landscape. This caused a bit of apprehension in my passengers, as they often voiced their concerns. The scenic roads with its rugged scenery leads you to the town of Lindos. This winds through the rocky hills, which leaves you with mesmerizing views. Arriving at Lindos town, we are greeted by the Acropolis of Lindos over the skyline, which watches over the town and the low-lying coastline. We had to drive around to get parking space, as it was at a premium, which makes me worry what would happen at the peak of summer. Luckily, we visited at the start of spring, and our nippy car could fit in any tiny space about. Having made our way to the tourist information office, we stopped to admire the terrain, which was gorgeous. Turquoise colors of the water gave off this calm, friendly, and happy ambience, which was to die for. The views were nothing short of striking. Some ATM machines were still boarded off, which clearly stated we were a bit early for the party. We made our way through the narrow, meandering alleys. One could easily get lost. They were surrounded by all-white shops, which gave it a clinical feel. Some of the shops were having a touch of paint, which meant they were back in business. Making our way through the narrow streets, we braced for the climb ahead. There are a few tourist shops on your way up which are a distraction from the gentle climb. However, they also provide opportunities to catch your breath. We had underestimated the steep climb to the Acropolis. One needs to be prepared for a good workout, and a bottle of drinking water would be handy. On getting to the top, we were rewarded with a resounding no entry, as we had arrived probably too early for this year. As the saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. We made the most of our stay and headed down a narrow path towards the coastline. The winds were blowing hard and the weather was quite hostile, but this did not deter us. We made our way down the gentle slope and made ourselves comfortable at our new destination. Delighted by the beauty and serenity of the coastline, the pleasant sunshine, we soaked in the much needed vitamin D, and the landscape was a feast for the eyes. Lindos Acropolis stands at 116 meters above sea level. At the summit lies the ruins of the goddess Athena Lindia, temples from the 14th century BC. On our way up, we came across a small old vaulted church dedicated to Saint Demetrius, which is found on the northern part of the Acropolis of Lindos. The descent is always easier, and this time we had more time to visit the tourist shops. Once reunited with our car, we drove across the island from east to west off to Monolithos Castle. This is a 49-kilometer drive, which is just under an hour of driving. Some parts of the drive were lonely, as we were the only car on the road. This did not bother us, as we were in our element. The tarmac roads were amazingly smooth, not that I was expecting anything less than the best. The scenery showed a great deal of diversity and the landscape was gorgeous. We finally made it to Monolithos Castle. There was ample space for us to choose from for us to park the car. Quite exhausted after driving for nearly 5 hours with multiple breaks, we had to stretch our legs. Ruins of the castle of Monolithos stand on a rock which is 236 meters high. path through the pine tree woods leads to the stone stairs, which lead all the way to the top of the rock. One needs to be extra careful as the rocks can be slippery. As soon as you get to the top, you'll be able to see a small chapel dedicated to Saint Battalion, which is within the castle ground. The castle affords picturesque panoramic views of the Aegean Sea. The castle was built by the Knights of St. John in 1476 to protect the island from attacks by pirates. It provides a distinct vantage point over the whole of the bottom part of the island. This small chapel is still functional and it has got a working bell. The surrounding village is sparsely populated with a population of 250 inhabitants. Following our brutal windy adventure at the top of Monolithos Castle, we had come across a signpost for Monolithos Caves on our way up. We could not resist the urge to explore the caves even when we were pressed for time. My group grudgingly agreed, and before we knew it, we were on the steep downhill road with no roadside barriers, with amazing views of Fourni Beach down below. The ride was rather effortless, however, we suddenly came to a stop when we had to deal with an emergency. One of the group members had a phobia for heights, and it hit home that we may not get to see the caves. With some negotiations and gentle persuasion, we made a few changes to the seating arrangements in the car, and we finally proceeded. None of us saw this coming, but hey, there is always a first. We finally got to the seafront, and it was amazingly beautiful. A very quiet and private place with strong waves and winds. We were the only souls on this part of the island. Our main aim was to look for the caves, so we got to work, but remember, time was not on our side. Members were exhausted and they had no appetite for being here. Essentially, we had to be quick. Unfortunately, there were no guides and the place was not signposted. The elusive caves were nowhere to be seen. What came to my mind was this could be a surfer's paradise. Frustrated for not having seen the caves, though pleased for the wild adventure, we embarked on returning to our place of rest for the night. Woke up to another bright morning with an island that was facing winds of up to 30 miles an hour. Funny enough, this was not going to keep us indoors as the clock was ticking. The roads were deceptively quiet due to the time of the day. An early start will guarantee you a crowd-free expedition. I love the clear blue skies and the strong sea waves as they were stunning. We headed off to explore Kritinia Castle over the horizon, built on a hilltop in 1472 by the Knights of St. John. The castle is called Castello by the locals. It was built to protect the villagers from the attack of the Ottoman fleets. It is 55 kilometers from the town of Rhodes, and it has an elevation of 131 meters above sea level. Having parked further away in the car park, we missed the pavimented path to the castle. We created an alternative route. Our initial thoughts were of a derelict castle that had not been shown any love, and it had been left to be reclaimed by Mother Nature. Our climb was rewarded with these spectacular views of the Aegean Sea, the islands of Halki and the port of Kamiros. The castle has elements of the Byzantine and Venetian architecture. It was originally built on 3 levels, with each level having each different Grand Master. On our way down, we noticed there was a dedicated path, but it was too late. Having said that, the climb was uneven and precarious. There is no regard for health and safety. Please be careful when you visit and have the right pair of footwear. We were glad that the castle was invaded by a bunch of visitors after we had uninterrupted and sufficient eyeball time to our satisfaction. Our next stop was the ancient ruins of Kamiros, so we drove northeast, which was 31 kilometers from the town of Rhodes. There was ample parking space, so this is the least of your worries. One is obliged to part with a small admission fee to gain access to the prehistoric site. Ancient Kamiros was one of the Doric cities of the island. Together with Lindos and Monolithos, they created the powerful city-state of Rhodes in the 5th century BC. Although it was founded by the Dorians, it seems the first inhabitants of the area were the Achans. Kamiros owned the western and central part of the island. It was more conservative than the other 2 city-states of the island. Its economic activity was agriculture. They produced oil, wine, and figs. The ancient city underwent massive repairs after a mega earthquake in 227 BC, and also after another earthquake in the middle of the 2nd century AD. The ruins of the Hellenistic Roman city of Kamiros are preserved in the archaeological site. They came to light during excavations in the 19th century and mainly during the Italian occupation. This prehistoric site of Kamiros was built on 3 levels. On top of the hill there was the Acropolis. The 2nd level had the main settlement, which had streets and residences. The lower level had the Doric temple and the Agora, the place where political issues were discussed. We were coming to the end of our escapades, and we thought, why not pay Butterfly Valley a visit? At this point in time, 2 of our colleagues threw in the towel. We had managed to get to the right place, however, not the right month of the year. Butterfly Valley, also known as Petalodis Valley, is a quirky nature park which is famous for swarms of multicolored butterflies between June and September. It is only 26 kilometers from the town of Rhodes. The butterflies lay their eggs at the end of the wet season and are usually found clinging to the many oriental sweet gum trees or zetia trees. Not that lucky this time round. I guess paying this place a visit in August will be an itch I need to scratch. Till next time.